Hello, welcome to a new video. Service Up album by the Beach Boys, released in 1971. The history behind it is not as complicated as was with Sunflower, which was the previous album in their discography. I reviewed that in my previous album review, check that out if you haven't yet. But anyway, Sunflower was released in 1970. It was the first album with their new record label, and they worked so hard on that one and recorded like about 40 tracks, I believe, for it. And even though Sunflower was a huge flop, the guys, they just didn't give up, and they went with focused minds to work on the material that you can hear on the album, the released album. But there was a few changes that happened in between these two, and the main change being they hired a new manager for them, Jack Riley, which was he was like a young guy, sort of forward-thinking, modern type of a guy with brand new ideas, and they really dug him, especially the Wilsons. Not really sure about Mike and Al. I think especially Mike and Jack continued to have some sort of dispute throughout the years, but whatever, let's not go into that. But personally, I think hiring Jack was pretty much the best thing that the Beach Boys had done since signing to Capitol. It was a huge advantage for them because he somehow really had a way with them. He had great ideas for them, and he saw what was wrong with their shows and their material, songwriting wise even, and he was a great asset for them. He's almost like another member of the band. It's one of the biggest tragedies, in my opinion, for the Beach Boys that he left his placement inside the group in just a few years. But in those few years he did a lot of great work with the guys. But anyway, that's pretty much it. That's the main thing that happened. Also, around the release of Surf's Up, Blondie and Ricky joined them. I think it was right after the release of this album, around that time period anyway. And Blondie, Chaplin and Ricky Fattar were members of a South African group called The Flame, or Flames, and Carl Wilson produced an album for them in 1970. That album is a great album. I have it, and I should do a review of that one too, but let's not go too much into that here. But it's a great album. I personally really love their work with the Beach Boys and without the Beach Boys. But anyway, I think Blondie probably plays on a track or two on this one, I'm not really sure, but basically they are not members yet. The album is a bit divisive amongst the Beach Boys fans. These days it's I think the love for it has really grown after the release of the Feel Flows box set. But I remember when I got into this one, I don't know, 10, 13, 15 years ago, something like that. Time flies by, I don't know. But anyway, some time ago. I remember reading a lot about it. Some loved it, but a lot of people said that, well, it has Surf's Up, which is a great song, but it doesn't belong on the album. And the only really, truly great original track on the album is Till I Die. And otherwise it was sort of like, nah, it's like not that great. So, it's been awesome to see the love for it growing during these years after those days. But whatever, I mean, I know there always have been fans for it, but I think the appreciation for it has grown, and I think it really deserves that. Though I do understand the other opinion as well, so I'm not like downsizing that at all. I can understand the criticism for the album as well, even though I don't agree for a lot of it, but still, we'll get into it. It's a divisive album anyway, and in my opinion the highs are higher on Surf's Up than on Sunflower, but also the lows are lower than on Sunflower, So, I think Surf's Up has a few greater songs than really any song on Sunflower, but the lows, while they are not really lows, but I still think it's just uneven compared to Sunflower. Sunflower is a more sort of Pet Sounds-esque, just a cohesive piece of work, while Sunflower Surf's Up, it's so confusing. Okay, anyway, somehow the words really twist my tongue in similar ways, so they get messed up. I'm sorry, but I'm talking about Surf's Up over here. Anyway, yeah, let's just get into it. The artwork, I really love it. Even though it is a little bit of a mess, but it just sets a mood which really truly fits the music. It's one of the rare examples of a Beach Boys album cover that really just evokes the feeling of the music inside the album. It's an honest album cover. I really love it, both front and back. And I think the back cover is probably my all-time favorite Beach Boys album back cover. You know, just this paper, this sort of rustic paper over here, and the font. It's just so amazing. And you know, the story behind this horse rider over here is super interesting as well, but we don't go into that over here. I love this little font or this, you know, graphic design over here. It's just so cool. This one I don't have actually. Let's show you the insert too, but with that I don't have it. This is a repressing from 2011 maybe. I bought this brand new, and it has the inner sleeve thing with the dried up lake bottom or ocean, whatever, you know. Super cool. Looks like a dinosaur skin or something. You really start to think about the environmental themes already when you see this. It's just so amazing. And it's the same on the back, so when you open it up, it's actually super cool. But over here you have lyric sheet, which is the first time the boys did something like this. They never before released lyric sheets with their albums, so this is also an artistic statement in itself. This is like the first time they are, and I think it probably was Jack Riley's idea that, you know, write good lyrics and print them with the album, because, you know, they are actually great lyrics in a poetic kind of way, artistic lyrics, and you should be proud of them and, you know, have them printed with the album. And I love that, because when I got this album and I really studied it and listened to it front and back, you know, daily basis pretty much for a year or two, I always read these lyrics and I noticed there are actually multiple misspelled lyrics over here, which is funny, but I bet they were that way too in the original pressing, and they just reprinted this thing probably. But if somebody else knows something more about it, let me know. But mainly the funny thing that always catches my ear is the lyric in Take a Load of Your Feet at the end. Here it says, he went to help and got some sandals new and dusty old saunas too. Well, you say saunas, but it is actually saunas. It doesn't talk about sauna at all, actually. It's about, actually the lyric goes, got some sandals new and dust the yoga asana too. So it means yoga, different yoga positions, you know. But so it's just hilarious, and I actually learned this listening to the live version on the Feel Flows box set. But anyway, let's just get into the tracks now. I'm starting to ramble once again too much. The album starts off with Don't Go Near the Water, which is a track by Mike, maybe? Well, but whatever. Who wrote it? Al and Mike, yeah. Anyway, it's a little, so hey, let's get my notes, because I wrote actually notes for this one as well. It's a little snippet of a song, great album opener. And this whole album, by the way, I gotta mention this before I forget it. I love the album. It's one of my favorite Beach Boys albums, but it does not have a hit single, like none. Like, it truly has the issue that Sunflower had originally, and that Holland had before the finished album. It just doesn't have a single hit, like a hit single song. None, really. Like Don't Go Near the Water, it's a great album opener, kind of like Meant for You on Friends, even though this is more like a well thought out song. It has great lyric, great production. I really love the subject matter. It just feels like, especially if you listen to the twofer thing with Sunflower, it's great to end the Sunflower with Cool Cool Water, sort of like this hymn for water and life and stuff like that. And then the next song being Don't Go Near the Water, which is an environmental song about the pollutions and stuff like that. So it's a bit corny maybe, but I think it works really well. And the instrumentation is super cool because it has this sort of synthy thing going on, but it also has these roots instruments. These like, I think it has banjo, mandolin maybe. Anyway, like acoustic guitars, piano. So this combination of instruments that they continue to do this similar style for the next few years or so, is, to me, it's super interesting. It still sounds something that's ahead of its times, because not many groups did something like this. It just is an interesting, different sound. Yeah, the bridge, that part that Al sings, is great. He just delivers it, and Mike's soft vocals on this one are once again just phenomenal. Mike he's just a great singer. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. And at the end, one of the best parts of the song are the power chords by an electric guitar. I don't know who plays it. Maybe Al or Carl. Maybe, I don't know. But listen to those. I think they are power chords, like I don't know, maybe two or three string chords that are at the end, especially. Those are super cool. Well, anyway, and the tag part when the harmonica comes in, I think there's a mandolin or something too. It's super beautiful, and the backing vocals, and it just flows perfectly to Long Promised Road, which is the second track on the album. And the first track by Carl Wilson, his collaborator over here is Jack Riley. And I think Jack Riley was probably the best collaborator for Carl, at least the sort of like the end product wise. I just think the songs that they work together on are the strongest Carl Wilson tracks ever, pretty much. Though there are great examples later too, but it's just overall, I think Jack's collaborations with the Wilsons are top-notch, all of them, really. And you know, Long Promised Road, a great one. It has great dynamics with the soft verses and the more like edgier chorus. And the lyrics are great. Jack wrote the lyrics, and I think they are great. Jack had a really good way with words, kind of like Van Dyke Parks. A little bit different, but in a similar ways. They have something similar, I don't know. And I know that's a divisive opinion. A lot of people don't actually like them. Personally, I really love them. And you know, you could even argue that this track is actually Carl Wilson's best song. And I think it's true. It has to be at least in top 5. It is just a timeless classic. And the bass synth is so cool, especially the solo part, which is so cool. You got the guitar solo and you got that bass, that I think it's a synth bass. It's just so cool. I don't know, whatever. But I think Carl played most of the instruments on this one, and it's super cool. And that whole bluesy outro is amazing as well. And I wish I just wish that it would go on for like a minute or two. It is super cool. And then we have something a little bit different, Take a Load Off Your Feet. Take a Load Off Your Feet is, for a lot of people, the weakest song on the album, with Student Demonstration Time. Personally, I really like it. I think it's quirky. It would maybe fit a little bit better on 2020 or Friends. But overall, I love the vocals on it. Al and Brian sings the big part in the beginning, I believe. They both just sing beautifully. It has a lot of cool percussion going on. The usage of percussion on it is very creative, because they use a lot of sound effects, unusual percussion, and I really dig that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's a fun, quirky song. Doesn't really fit well, maybe it fits the health theme overall, but yeah, it's lightweight. But it's a creative song nonetheless, and I really like it. And it gives a little bit of more like this sort of cheerful mood, for instance, you know, for this album, because the rest of the material is pretty dim, so that's appreciated. Anyway, it's followed then with Disney Girls. This is probably Bruce Johnston's best song, at least it's the most well known, if you exclude the Barry Manilow track, but anyway. Great lyrics, doesn't really sound like the Beach Boys at all, but I don't mind because it's a great song, and it just has a moody feeling, and it's not schmaltzy in a way that Bruce sometimes has like he said it himself, you can see that in an old video clip, I think it's from 1980 or something. He says to a show host, TV show host, that, you know, I don't think my music really fits for the Beach Boys, it's too soft. And I think he was kind of right. But anyway, Disney Girls, great classic. And then actually didn't write anything over here on Student Demonstration Time, which is the song that follows this one. Personally, I don't actually mind this song. I don't think it's a bad song. And for a lot of people that have played this album that are not Beach Boys fans, this song is actually their favorite. It's a cool rocker, and I remember when I heard the album first time, even just the beginning riff when that starts off, I was like, whoa, what is this? And I really loved it. And I thought that in a great way. But now, you know, having heard it many times, these days I kind of do skip it if I listen to it digitally, not on vinyl. But anyway, the problem with the song in this context is the placement. It just doesn't fit the album, even though, yeah, thematically the you know, the lyrics do fit the album with the sort of not environmental maybe, but you know, that sort of progressive thing, you know, counterculture, whatever you want to call that, you know, thing. Sure, but just mood-wise, it's just so out of place, and I think that's the issue with it. And also, I don't really like the lines at the end. Overall, I think the lyrics are great, but there are at the end that part when there's a riot going, you best stay out of sight or something. It's like, what? Come on. Like, I don't know. It's just so stupid, because otherwise the lyrics are great, and I think most people have a problem with just that end, because it's sort of it becomes this sort of anti-protest song. Sort of like, it's supposed to be a protest song, but it actually becomes an anti-protest song. So it's like, yeah, Mike got the memo on let's write protest songs and environmental songs, but he forgot at the end that, oh, like, you know, like the angle should be a little bit different. I don't know. It's just so funny. But anyway, you know, yeah, I like the song. I just wish that they either kept the original lyrics or changed that last part, and this would fit so much better on Call and the Passions, for example. You know, so, you know, I don't know. But anyway, move on. Side B starts off with Feel Flows. I think Students Demonstration Time ends side 1, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, Feel Flows, another Carl Wilson track, co-written with Jack. And personally, I think this is even better than Long Promised Road. This is an all-time classic. It's a psychedelic, progressive, I don't even know what it really is about. I remember reading an interview piece where I think Jack maybe said that it's supposed to represent or be about an orgasm. I don't know, but whatever. No, I don't really even care about the lyrics, because they just set a mood, and that those lyrics truly just tie in together so well with the music itself. So I just love that. It just sets a mood, and you get high listening to that without taking drugs, and that's really the best kind of music that there is. Anyway. It has this sort of ambient type of a background going on with these synthesizers, and a cool reverse reverb effect throughout. I think Brian is in the background vocals as well, and the solo part, once again, amazing. I think Carl plays the guitar solo, and then there's, I think Charles Lloyd probably plays the flute, and there's saxophone kind of creeping in. And anyway, that solo part is so amazing. I don't know, I don't really know what else to say about that. But there's just a cool interplay with them, with the flute and the guitar, and I don't know, it's just so cool. And I think the drum usage in this song is super genius, because I think the drums, at least the bass drum, truly really kicks in like after the solo, and that's like 3 minutes into the track. You get the music sort of cools down and goes lower, and then the bass drum kicks in. It's just so cool. I think it's genius. It just really hits those right spots. And yeah, I don't know, it's probably the best part of the track to me. You know, that instrumental part, that solo, and then when the drums kick in, it's just so cool. And then we are almost at the end. We got then Looking at Tomorrow, a Welfare song, and yeah, this is the second, or the third Al Jardine track, but the second written with Gary Winfrey. And I really love this song. Sometimes I've read people criticize this one, and I'm like, what? It's one of the greatest, maybe the greatest Al Jardine song in my opinion. It is just so amazing, and it fits the mood and the thematics of this album so well. It has a folksy thing going on, but it's like psychedelic folk music, so it sounds kind of more like Grateful Dead or something. So it's super cool and super dark and moody. I love the lyrics, and just the instrumentation is so out of the box. It's just so kind of weird because you have an acoustic guitar, and there's like, I think there's like synth parts or something. And the way, once again, the way the drums are used and the sound effects, I don't know, there's something really in it that's so different, and it works as a great sort of segue into the last 3 tracks on the album. You know, it's super short, and I think that's always the best kind of a track, when a song doesn't overstay its welcome. And for example, with Student Demonstration Time, that I think that really happens, because it's quite a long track. It's like, I think it's like 4 minutes or something. You could really cut 2 minutes out of it, and it will work better in this context. But anyway, the 80s live version of this track, by the way, rocks so hard, and I wish that there, in some vault, exists a soundboard recording of that. You can hear that on YouTube. Just search for Looking at Tomorrow live. And you know, not those Al versions from the recent years, but the 80s version, which is like a stadium rock version. It's super cool with heavy guitars, and yeah, it's just amazing stuff. Anyway, then lastly we got 3 tracks by Brian Wilson, and Brian has been pretty absent up until this point on this album, but he comes in strong with A Day in the Life of a Tree, which is sung by Jack Riley, and the lyrics written by Jack Riley mostly. Brian probably, I'm not really sure how much Brian has had, you know, input on the lyrics or the thematics, but I think he has to have had some idea of the lyrics or the theme of the song, because he usually did have an idea for the song anyway, but I don't know. And Van Dyke Parks actually sings at the end on the background, so it's actually kind of like a second lead vocal with Al, and that's super cool, that tag part, oh my god. But whatever, like let's talk about that in a minute. Mainly this is a very divisive track. A lot of people don't like the fact that Jack sings it. Personally, I think Jack had a very soothing voice, just amazing storyteller voice, and Brian was really on point when he said that Jack was the best to sing that song because he sounded like a tree. And I just really understand what he means, because he has this deep voice, and that's why I love the fairy tale on Holland as well, because he's the narrator on it. So, you know, I love his voice, and I think it's great that he sings it. The theme of this song and the story behind it, well, some people say that it's just about a tree, and I know Brian has stated that it's just about a tree and that's it, but Brian has stated a lot of things that, I mean, you know, whatever. But personally, I've studied some poetry and written some poetry myself too, and I call that sort of BS, because when you write a lyric like that, no matter whether it's unconscious or conscious, it is autobiographical. Tree is being used as a metaphor for, you know, you yourself and your life. And I think thinking about this song and the what it represents in this case, knowing Brian's history, it makes it really sad and really dark, and I think it's probably one of the darkest Beach Boys tracks that there ever was, because there's really no hope at the end of it. And especially these last tracks anyway, like, they can really move you if you listen to them on a, you know, correct mood or you know, day that you have in your life, in a situation. Really heavy stuff, and especially, well, the way it's sequenced, I think these last three tracks just work like a diamond. It's followed them with Till I Die, which is a song that really took some time for me to appreciate truly, because I don't know really what it was about it that I wouldn't say that I've ever disliked it. I just thought it was underwhelming originally. I think it probably has something to do with the way it's not... It doesn't really resolve in a traditional way. I think it has something to do with the way it's structured and the chords, because it is an unusual song. But yeah, it took me some time to appreciate it. I truly love it now. But anyway, it's super soft, and the whole genre of this track is kind of weird, because it's so soft. You could even call it, you could kind of call it soft rock or pop or whatever, but it's not rock, it's not pop. The whole genre of the music itself, this song, is just strange. It's kind of like classical, but it has it's so weird. It's so dark. It's kind of soothing, but kind of like in the suicidal way, you know, just not in a good way, kind of like taking some heroin over here way, like some really weird way. I don't really know what it is about it. It's the music, because it's so calm, peaceful, but I'm not even talking about the lyrics here, and the lyrics are super dark too, but just the music itself, it's really something else. Really hard to talk about this one, because I don't think there's really anything like this song, not even in the Beach Boys catalog. And the lead vocals, well, there's really not lead vocals, excluding the Brian Wilson part, I Lost My Way, Hey Hey Hey, which I love. I think that's really beautiful. It's more like group lead vocals, group sang throughout. Mike has a great part at the end. His deep voice comes in and sings the "These Things I'll Be Until I Die" part, which is so beautiful. You can hear that sort of mixed differently in the bedroom montage section in the Love and Mercy movie soundtrack. That's super cool. Check that out if you haven't yet. I think it's, well, this whole album is sort of like top, I don't know how many tracks there are, I don't know, 12 or something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think 10, or whatever. It's like top 10 tags, because each song really just has a phenomenal tag. And especially over here, the tag part is just, it's just so chilling. I don't really know what else to say about it. Anyway, then the album ends off with Surf's Up, and I don't really know what to say about this one either, because as I mentioned in the beginning, I think it's probably the best song by the Beach Boys, probably like, I don't know, best song of all time, maybe, I don't know. Personally, to me, it's just a mind-blowing song. I don't really know what to say about it, because it's perfect. I only wrote 3 points over here. The song is built off of 3 different segments. There's the first part with Carl on lead vocals, then there's the second one with Brian on lead, and the third part, which is the Child of the Father of the Man sequence, which is the tag part, which is super, super beautiful. I think Al sings most prominently on that one, but the group is there as well. I have told this story before too, but the first time I heard this song, I think it was in 2011 or 12, I didn't really know much about it. I think I just read on some online forum that somebody talked about it and said that it's the greatest thing ever and blah blah. And I went and I listened to it and I was like, yeah, this is so cool, this is so cool. And then the Brian part comes in and my jaw just dropped to the floor. I was like, what is this? Like, how can you how can you do that in a song? Because it's like a straight cut to a completely unexpected cut. Basically it's to another song. It's just everything changes. But it fits so well. It just flows really well. But the first time you hear that, you go like, what just happened there? Because I hadn't ever heard anything like that. Like nothing on, I don't know, like probably one of the sort of most far out popular things that I could name around that time period was probably like Bohemian Rhapsody or something. But, you know, like, this track is just really something else. I love those bass notes at the end, which are played on a piano. It goes like do 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 do. It's just kind of weird part, but anyway, like I don't really know what else to say about it. I would like to talk about this song for 2 hours, but I don't really know what to say about it. It's just perfect. Like I said, I think this album overall is just phenomenal record, and the problem with it really is the sequencing and politics. We gotta mention Dennis Wilson. I haven't mentioned him once in this review, and the reason is he's really not on it. He's completely excluded. And the reason is kind of stupid, and it comes down to democracy, basically. And that's the main issue that the Beach Boys had throughout. Basically, after Brian gave up the leading position, the main issue with the Beach Boys became democracy, which just doesn't really work when it comes to artistry. And Surf's Up is a great example of that, because if you'd include Dennis Wilson's Wouldn't It Be Nice to Live Again, which was recorded for the album, and exclude Student Demonstration Time, I think this album would be as great as Pet Sounds, truly, because that track is one of the best things ever. And Dennis was working on so many beautiful tracks during this time period, and I think he probably felt kind of confident that he's gonna put out his first solo album soon, and he sort of canned his tracks and kept them safe, because he thought that, well, they are gonna end up on my solo album in a year or two. But that didn't happen. It took him like 6 years before he actually came around recording his first solo album and his only released solo album, and he didn't use any of the material that he recorded during this time period, which is a great thing in itself, because Pacific Ocean Blue is the best thing ever. But anyway, as I mentioned, I like all the tracks over here, but if you'd include the tracks that Dennis wrote, 4th of July maybe, I'm not the biggest fan of that one, but I do think that it would make this album a greater artistic statement if you'd choose that one over Student Demonstration Time. I don't really mind Take a Load Off Your Feet being at the beginning of this album, because it's a cheerful, sort of kind of funny song, and you know, I think it's a good song anyway, and I think it fits here and sort of changes up the rhythm and the mood a little bit, which makes the album itself even greater. My camera overheated, I am blathering too much, but let's wrap this up. What do you think about Surf's Up? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's underrated, overrated? Do you think it's just okay? I think it's a very divisive album amongst the Beach Boys fans, and I would love to know your thoughts on it. Personally, I think it's one of their strongest efforts, but you know, just a little bit of different sequencing and stuff, and it would work even better, and in my opinion would be praised a bit more, even though it actually sold really well, even though it didn't have a single hit, which is cool. But anyway, that's it. Hopefully we'll see you soon on the next one. Take care. Bye bye.